In many successful stories, often begin with painful memories. In Lee's story, he was bullied in classroom every day. He was the shortest kid in the room, and his classmates bullied him as gay. This poor kid was the class clown.
Lee found out when he was 12 or 13 that his father was gay. And everyone at school was calling Lee a faggot. And at the time, when Lee started bodybuilding and he was shaving his legs, oh yeah, you're just going to be like your dad, you know, you're going to be a queer. And he was sort of the class clown because he was so hurt with all the homosexual taunts he got. And he was just getting them every day, every day. At school, he was in trouble all the time.
I could just see a lot of people ripping into him, calling him gay, calling him this, calling him that. But Lee was stood up for himself quite good. He didn't really let it get to them too bad.
I think it's no different now when people say bodybuilding's gay. People always just say shit, but as I said, it didn't bother me one little bit at all.
And that really hurt Lee.
Even the world's top bodybuilders were intimidated by Lee. Some even considered retiring because of him. That's how dominant he was.
My most painful was losing to Lee Priest, because I quit after that.
He was unbelievable. I've seen Ronnie Coleman, obviously I competed with him. No one could ever blow your mind like Lee Priest looked when he was 21 years old.
And he said he wanted to be a bodybuilder. I said, oh shit, this is ridiculous. He's never going to get out there. And I said, oh, wait, bodybuilding. I still remember holding my head thinking, oh, yuck. Well, I thought bodybuilding was the worst thing, especially for him.
I really did discover bodybuilding. It was more when I was doing the karate. I was always doing sit-ups and stuff like that. With the bodybuilding, I said when I saw He-Man, I'm like, oh, I could do weights now. So I brought a little home weight set and did it in the garage there at home. And, you know, just muscle started sort of developing pretty quickly. I didn't do it to become a pro bodybuilder or to get into bodybuilding. I'm just a guy that loves going to the gym. I love to train.
Me over to him, introduced me to Lee. Then he was only 13, and she said, "Oh Lee, show Barry your abs." Lifted his singlet top up, and he had abs like a washboard that you would not believe. And I thought this.
Lee Priest is something else. In the bodybuilding world, he's known for being one of the shorter guys, but that never stopped him. He's managed to pack on serious size and keep incredible symmetry, going up against bodybuilders who are 5-6 inches taller. Competing at that level and still winning is a hard thing. It's what makes him stand out even more.
Lee, what's it like to compete with those big guys? Use the word tall, not big. Those guys are 6 foot and their measurements are the same as mine, 5'4.5". That makes them the small guys. Pathetic. A big guy, 6'1", got the same measurements as someone 5'4". That's pathetic.
San Francisco Pro Grand Prix champion, Lee Priest.
Big shoulders, big arms, a tiny waist, and huge legs. That's what bodybuilding should be. You'll always hear people saying, "Oh, that's overdone. You shouldn't look like that." But the truth is, those are usually the ones who can't achieve it. So they criticize it. Bodybuilding is a long-term game. People get into it, train for 6 or 8 months, and then wonder, why isn't anything happening? What am I doing wrong? But the reality is, it takes years. You have to stick with it. Some months, some years even, you might not see any changes. The weights might stay the same, but you've got to keep pushing. It's one of those things where you have to be patient and train hard. It will happen. It just takes time.
I don't really need to dig down because I said it comes, it's like part of, to me it's like breathing or walking, so if I start training I don't really need to think about it, I just go through the pain if it starts hurting. But for somebody else, it gets to that point, you see a lot of people get to that point where it hurts and they stop, but that's the point where you got to keep going, then you get a lot of people who want to get muscles overnight, but it doesn't happen overnight. Bodybuilding is a long-term sport, it takes years. That's one of those things, if you don't see the results after 6 months, 7 months, keep going. The results will come, but it just takes such a long time. It's going to take you at least 10 years at the minimum. Yeah, I love training more than anything than competing, so I don't really need motivation. I just love training. It's in my blood. I started training at such a young age, just being in my family. I just train heavy all year round. Come contest time, I just diet and
It was a training seminar, and after it wrapped up, Lee Priest did a guest pose during his bulking season. He was just 20 years old, man. That day, I saw the freakiest bodybuilder I've ever seen in person. Lee Priest was absolutely massive, insane big. He was so huge that he could barely walk. His thighs were so huge they were rubbing together, and his arms were the size of his head. It was unreal. I've never seen anything like it before or since. Unbelievably big. That moment stuck with me because I've never witnessed anything like that in my entire life. He was insanely big. If you keep pushing and giving your all, it will happen. It must happen. All you can do is move forward and make progress.
He was a little guy. I was a big guy. Kind of depressing.
I never consider myself a professional. I always just consider myself as someone who trains and wants to do the best they can do. So.
Lee Priest, 217 pounds, stacked on a 5'4" frame.
Everyone told Lee, "You can't do it. You're not genetically gifted." In bodybuilding, genetics are a big deal, and Lee was just a short kid. People kept reminding him of that, but it didn't faze him. Even as a kid, as a teenager, he decided he wasn't going to let his genetics hold him back. He was going to make his genetics work for him.
Oh, check that out. Woo! Oh, look at striations in those triceps. Have you ever seen striations in triceps? Striations in triceps? Look at that. Damn, boy.
I love training. I love, the training side and the diet side serious, but contest. Competing to me, I don't really enjoy. I enjoy more coming to the contest to see the fans and let the fans see me, but all the guys I compete against now are always my role models and people I looked up to, so even now it's still funny to be on the same stage as them because, they're the people I looked up to, and because I'm short I still look up to them, but
Lee Priest, 217 pounds, stacked on a 5 foot 4 inch frame.
He had the best arms in the world, no doubt about it. Those triceps, unbelievable. I've never seen anything like them.
I walked in the gym and I remember like looking at him and saying, how is that even possible? He could barely walk. But he was massive.
Come and train. It's nice and early. Let's get there. Look at the hour of the morning. Everybody's out apart from idiots like me and criminals. That's the only people out this hour of the day.
You've got to keep getting up. No matter what, life's going to knock you down, but that's exactly when you need to rise. Just look at Lee's story. He got bullied as a kid, but he used that pain as fuel. Now, he's a legend in bodybuilding. He turned those tough times into something powerful. In the gym, I learned that real growth happens when you're uncomfortable, and life's no different. When you're pushed to your limits, that's when you really grow. Life can hit you hard, like a heavy squat that takes you down. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, life reminds you that you're not in control. But that's part of it. We need those struggles to appreciate the good times. You gotta have terrible workouts to have good workouts. One thing I've learned, if you want something bad enough and you're truly determined, you can make it happen. Failing is just part of life. It's how it goes. But getting up every day, no matter what, that's what really living is all about.
Real weight 227. On stage maybe 221. Magazines 232.
If you want to put on a lot of weight, eat more food, eat a bit of junk food. If you want to get really ripped, just train as heavy as you can, add cardio and eat super clean.
This is I really wanted to win a show, mainly for my fans and my family, my grandparents, so this is for them, so thank you very much.
Always people when they say steroids and this, I'm thinking, mate, if there's a magic pill, tell me, because I've been training. I've been training 30s. I just turned 50 now, so since I was 12, 13, I've been training, and
you know, he's shorter, but he was unbelievable.
Just because I do something I find best for me, you got to find, as you said, you got to experiment, find what works best for you. Because like I said, leg press might be good for you, but squats are better for somebody else, or hack squats. So people go like, oh, this is what Dorian Yates did, I'm going to do the same routine, I look like Dorian. It's like, it doesn't work that way. So you just got to find what works for you, and then like I said, but keep it basic,